She is a community builder, a coach, and the founder of We Are Made, which is a community and content platform supporting next gen creatives and entrepreneurs like yourselves. It originally launched in 2022 as a podcast centering creatives of color, and We Are Made has since grown into a village for those with vision but no clear roadmap. So as she continues the good work through her, or she continues her good work through her bi-weekly newsletter, you can't get it wrong, where she creates space for those looking to overcome setbacks, rebuild their confidence, and get out of their own way. So, welcoming back to the stage, Imani Evora. Ready to go. I've
Hi.
already given you the best introduction. They know
Mm,
all about you.
thank you so much. I appreciate you. All right, guys, let's dive into this master class. I'm so excited. Um, okay, cool. So, welcome to my masterclass, Make Your Ask. Once again, my name is Imani Evora. Like everyone has mentioned, and like I've done for 6 months straight, I'm the founder of We Are Made. I am a FAMU grad. It's an HBCU in Tallahassee, Florida. I'm also the host of You Can't Get It Wrong. It's my bi-weekly newsletter, which is dedicated to helping you get out of your own way and find your own confidence and clarity and direction. I was a life coach for about 5 years before I transitioned into being an academic coach, which is basically like life coaching for young adults, which I'm obsessed with. They are the reason why I rebranded and started We Are Made. This was like never meant to be like this really huge thing, but I'm so happy that it has continuously grown and you guys are also benefiting. This was actually originally a podcast. So to think that it's webinars, it started with conversations about process and panels. And I was just really interested in figuring out as many different ways as we could answer the questions of not only the next generation, but then also people who are present today who still have questions. So thank you guys for being here. I'm so excited to teach you guys how to actually ask for what you want. So, when you were thinking about actually making your ask, what I've always learned from people, the greatest problem that they actually have when it comes to that is a lot of them realize that what holds them back is they can't actually imagine everything actually working out for them. We see people who are already very successful, and all we see is that those people are already very successful. We can't imagine that out of all the different people, out of all the different ways in which something beautiful could happen, an opportunity could take place, we could, market and network and things could work out. We can't, for some reason, we forget about ourselves and we can't imagine that. So, no matter what you're experiencing when it comes to asking for what you want, today you're going to leave it here. Whether you are trying to ask people to be a part of a project or something that you care about, which is who I create this for, or whether you're asking for that raise in your position, or you're asking to have some funding, or to even pivot into a completely different career, I want you guys to take exactly whatever you need from this presentation, this masterclass, and I want you to take it with you. There are a couple things I want you guys to walk away with, and I'm very intentional about the ways in which I create different modalities and workshops because I don't want you guys just to hear me talk, which is, kind of cool and whatever, but I want you guys to actually feel as though you're walking away with something. I want you guys to walk away with turning your connections into collaboration. I want you guys to feel safe enough to go back to leaning on your community where we once took a lot of hardship into doing. And I want you guys to feel confident enough to ask for what you really want, not shrinking your ask, but actually asking for what you want the first time. So, I have a 3-step process that I actually used not only to build POV Beyond the Degree series, but everything that I've ever had for We Are Made. This is not a pitch. I totally promise. This is just so I can teach you guys exactly what I did. That way, you feel as though it's coming from an authentic space. None of this would have been possible without the 3 different steps that I took to actually get myself here. And I am so excited to teach you guys. So, get out your notebooks, get out your phones, get out your notes app, and let's get started. Number 1 is I always lead with value. Always. No matter what it is, who it is, the opportunity, the environment, does not matter. I always lead with value. But what does that actually look like? I have three different layers in which I run through a process before I even reach out to someone. Number one, I speak their language. You interacting, you networking, you making that ask is just like you pitching someone for your company, even if you are only trying to get a raise in your job. You have to understand their interest, their values, and their positioning. What do they already care about? What language do they already use? What are some things in which they already care about that you can actually apply to whatever ask that you're trying to make? Speak their language because everybody has a filter. Think back to grade school when you were being taught a subject that you did not like, but maybe you had a teacher who taught that same subject, but for some reason you connected to them more. That's exactly what you're doing when it comes to making your ask. So always start with speaking their language. Number two, make your vision clear. And this is the most important part about value. You have to consider that you really need to know what you're asking for. If you have a beginner's idea, if you're 50% into understanding your ask, sure, that's a perfect way to reach out via email. By the time you have your meeting, by the time you are on that Zoom or you're on that in person or you're meeting at a coffee shop, you need to know what you're asking for. People can only meet you as far as you have met yourself. And if you do not have a sense of clarity when you go to pitch whatever you need support in, a lot of people would be more confused. And I'm telling you from experience, the moment they ask, wait, what is this? Or like, what are you really asking for? You've lost them. And it's your job to actually figure out how you can get them back. And then what I tend to do, especially a lot more nowadays, is I ask for feedback. So, what do you think of this? How would you do things differently? Not necessarily to shift my ask, but more so to see, hey, am I explaining this vision correctly to the point where, hey, like they actually understand what I'm asking for? Or am I screwing up and I need to simplify it? Remember, shorter words, more specificness actually supports your vision. Number three, honor their gifts. Now, this may seem a little unconventional, but just walk with me, okay? They're going to ask you, why them? Why this opportunity? Why now? Why does this need to exist? Now, this may not be something that you thought about. I didn't either. But I've had so many people, whether for a panel, an interview, a simple question, networking, ask me, how did you find me? And most times I can't remember because sometimes I was just so focused on getting to the ask that I forget the small details. The details actually matter. Hey, I reached out to you because I see the work that you do with A, B, and C, and it aligns with the work that we're doing over here. These are attractive features. I've been following you for a period of time, and I see that you have a short break in your career, or I see that you've been working on this lately. Either you want to be a part of that thing, or you're just saying, like, hey, I see you. That's literally all you're saying. And people, whether we like to admit it or not, we all love to be affirmed. We want someone to see us and we want someone to understand our value. And when you lead with value, it makes one heck of a difference. So, step one is leading with value. You're also going to see invitations at the end, at the bottom, where it's going to give you little things to take in for consideration. The first invitation is do your research. The intentionality that comes behind doing your research answers a lot of the unanswered questions for you and for them. Next is know what you want. You can't make the ask if you don't know what you're asking for. You have to know what you're asking for and get as if you can't say it in less than kind of like your elevator pitch in less than a couple words, or you can't initially introduce that idea or whatever the ask is to someone and they just get it. Just keep redefining, keep building on that idea. So many ideas I've pitched and they were like, I don't get it. And I took it back. I didn't take it as something negative. I went, wow, I need to do a better job of really working on different ways that I can simplify the idea. Next is not your job to sell. Please, please, please let me say this and release you from the shackles. It is not your job to sell. Your job is to share your vision And it's your job just to add context. Give people all of the pieces that you would consider them or think that they need. And that is what's going to actually support them and lead the rest of that value. If you overcomplicate it by not adding enough clarity, they're gonna not buy in. Not because they're not interested, it's because it's gonna be really, really hard for them to sign up for something that they have no idea what you're asking for. So do your research, know what you want, and don't sell. Just provide context. Step two is trust yourself to make the first move. Now, I know it sounds corny. Once again, walk with me. I promise you. I'm gonna take you guys back to 2022. It was a little bit post pandemic. I was obsessed with podcasts. I was tired of being in the house. I was tired of watching TV. I like you can only Netflix so much. So I started listening to podcasts and more music, and I started diving into different parts that could allow me to experience something new. And I used to always listen to this one podcast about how founders created their businesses, and I was so inspired, but none of them looked like me. So when someone was telling me that they went to Stanford or they went to Harvard or they went to Yale, I went to an HBCU. We are on different pages. We have different experiences. I couldn't see myself, so therefore that was really difficult for me to connect to. So I have this problem where like if I see an issue long enough, I'm gonna figure out a solution for it. Is I'm working on it. I started a podcast called We Are Made Podcast, and I interviewed over 45 people, and I interviewed them about their careers, being a creative as well as an entrepreneur. But was that easy? Mm-mm. I did not know any of them. I had no money for any of them, no sponsors for any of them. I had no network. Remember, I'm an introvert. I'm like, I can work the room, but secretly I'm cringing inside. I had nothing to start with except for the value that I had. I painted a vision so clear that for some reason they were crazy enough to go along with it. And I love that experience so much because it actually gave me the leverage to begin to trust myself. If I didn't make that first move, the two projects that you see next would have never happened. When I first started reaching out for people for the More of Us series that we launched, it was our first series we launched post revamping and relaunching We Are Made. And the ideology behind that was I had so many students as academic coach at FAMU that were curious about different careers, but they couldn't imagine or dream about those different careers because they've never seen themselves reflected in it. Representation was decreasing, or they just didn't have enough knowledge about it. Okay, cool. Once again, I'm going to find a solution. I reached out to over 33 people using the same skills that I built from building out that podcast. And I interviewed them. What was your hardship? What were the toughest things? What do you wish you did differently? I went back into their stories and I didn't do it in the generic way where you just ask them these basic questions that you can Google and see somewhere else. I actually used all the foundational skills that I did when I made my first move with the podcast to actually blend over and transfer into More of Us. And the whole purpose was to show, like, hey, there's more of us who are leading in those positions and dreaming about what you want to be involved in. You just have to be daring enough to lean into it. And then lastly, this series that you're a part of right now, that you're in this space for, POV would have never happened if I didn't once again reach out to all of the people that joined. And at the end of all these projects, I contacted cold email, DM, all of these people, 95 plus, all because I chose to trust myself to make the first move. Now, at no point did I say it wasn't scary. At no point did I say I did not experience rejection. I experienced those things. I had people who like I was so excited to talk to and see, and nope, didn't respond. And that was tough for me at first, but then I had to tell myself like, hey, they are not rejecting me nor this project. They don't know me yet. But if I keep doing the work, if I keep creating these portfolios, if I keep putting myself out there, number one, it creates more practice for me. I'm only getting better. I'm only getting more confident. But also, it allows other people to see the impact and the value that also you hold. You don't stop because people aren't responding. You darn sure don't stop because other people aren't a part of it. You keep going, but that starts with trust. So my invitation to you is be audacious. Be audacious. There's some skill set that you have that qualifies you, and it doesn't have to measure to the qualities and the qualifications that you assume you need to make your big ask. I wasn't qualified to run a 6-month series. Never done. But I invited amazing people who I love and I adore to be a part of it, and they gave me the courage to actually try. My first webinar, no one knows it, I had an immense panic attack, the worst, and I didn't know what to do. And it was mostly because I wasn't audacious enough to believe in myself that this could actually happen. We are 6 months later, and we're at the finale. Hiccup, sure, but you have to make that first move. I was qualified and I forgot that because it was something new. But you're allowed to do something new. Lastly, experience produces self-trust. I trust myself more than ever now. Now, We Are Made has been going on since 2022. That's a long period of time to figure out how you can trust yourself more. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I actually struggled, and I actually am proud of myself today. But I had to trust myself to make that first move, and I invite you to do the same. Number three, this is something that I made for myself to so I can stop crushing my own dreams. So I can stop assuming that it either won't work out for me or maybe like my platform wasn't big enough, I didn't have enough followers, I didn't have enough college, whatever excuse. Let them tell you no. You do not tell yourself no before they tell you no. And sometimes no doesn't even mean never. It means just not right now. I've had so many people in which I've reached out to before POV who were part of other projects or who wanted to be a part of other projects, didn't have the time, didn't have the leverage or capacity. And I had to tell myself, okay, it's fine. But I had to also embody that I can't tell myself no. They are allowed to tell me no, but I'm not allowed to count myself out before I ever even start. The second thing that really supported me with this motivation and aspiration is I started leaning on people who I'm already inspired by. So for me, I'm naturally a storyteller and I'm naturally a person that likes to speak out and encourage. So I found people who are already amazing storytellers and I started to lean into and embody a lot of their courage that I had to learn how to make for myself. Ryan Coogler says it best. He says, imposter syndrome is an incredibly efficient thief. You see all the awards he just won? And for him to go on interviews and still talk about how a lot of these projects would never come to existence, I needed to see that. But he also talked about the courage it took to continue. Issa Rae says, I found that every time I asked for permission, the answer tended to be no, so I had to make my own yes. That's you. Keep going. Ava DuVernay says, underneath every excuse is just the fear of doing it. I couldn't agree more. And then Fred Hampton, who is from the Black Panthers, that you may or may not know about, who I actually studied and I think you should actually look up as well. He says, anywhere there's power, anywhere there's people, there's power. He didn't say a person with a higher level of degree, a person that had the best network. He didn't say anything that had to do with separating us or putting us in different categories that showcased our value or what we assume as value. He said, anywhere there's people, anywhere there's community, there's power. And that includes us. So no matter what ask that you are actually making, I want you to begin to embody that it's okay to be scared, but it's not okay for you to count yourself out. So my invitation for you is moving forward. You are not allowed to count yourself out. You're going to be scared. You're going to be fearful. I like to say that a healthy dose of fear is okay. If I'm scared, it's not even because I'm not capable. It's mostly because this is the unfamiliar experiment, the unfamiliar experience. I'm trying to figure out how to become comfortable in it, and that's okay. You're allowed to figure that out. In every season, I hate to tell you, you never arrive. I thought you did. You never arrive. You're going to find different things that stretch you. All of these people are highly successful in their fields. And rest in peace to Fred Hampton, powerful, legendary speaker, but they are still scared. They write about it. They speak on panels about it. Issa Rae just spoke on Aspire literally not too long ago, and she talks about it. She's like, listen, I feel stuck. But when you see her, you probably don't assume that. So when you're making your ask, realize the humanity of it. It's a human experience to be scared, but you're not allowed to be the person that stands your own way and jeopardizes that growth. So step number three, the same advice that I gave myself and I actually walked myself through, let them tell you no. And lastly, a lot of people ask about how do you create lasting relationships, moving from connection to collaboration. These three things have served me well. Number one, support. Show up. It sounds simple, but people forget to do it. Show up. Showing up doesn't only imply to being in person. Any panelist, any person I've ever interviewed, any person I've ever held space with, I like, I comment, I repost, I say their name in spaces that they're not in. I follow it with ways in which I can support their vision. If they're posting something on LinkedIn, I'm like, hey girl, I know somebody. I'm invested in them. The same way in which it took an hour to be invested in me, 5 minutes to be invested in me. I trust that the skills and the assets and the gifts that I do have, whether they're big or they're small, it does not matter. I lead with it. And I trust that I am qualified in whatever magnitude in which that looks like. And I show support. Number two, I am wildly consistent. I have a reputation where I show up, I'm on time, I'm present. I try to make as many people as possible feel like they're seen and they're heard. And that reputation is incredibly valuable that people forget about simply because life happens or you make it or you're stressed and things are happening. It is up to you to build a strong, authentic reputation, guys. I promise you, this will open up more doors than you could ever imagine. And you're not allowed to switch up. You're allowed to grow, you're allowed to change, but don't be super cool and interactive and like, approachable. And then the next time they see you, you're like, who are you again? That is a part of reputation. And you never know who that person knows, no matter who you're asking or what ask you're trying to make. It's a small word in the creative and entrepreneurship field. And I think it's incredibly important that you focus on actually building that authentic reputation. This allows you to position yourself to continuously be someone they actually want to work with. I've had so many people reach out to me after following anything that I've done, and they're like, "Hey, I see you doing this thing. Let me give this person to you." I didn't have to work for that connection, but it's lasting because I continue to be consistent and my reputation is clear. I'm very aware of who I am. I'm very aware of what I have to offer, and I don't try to like fake like I have like this thing all figured out, which is why I started this entire series because I didn't know about all these different things. So be consistent. Lastly is seek, underestimated as well. Share your new ideas with them as well. Share them. Ask for their feedback. What do you think of this? Don't be afraid that they're gonna steal. And if you still feel like you're working on that trust with other people, okay, cool. Give them pieces of it. What do you guys think of this? How would this work in your field? Do you know anybody that I can get in connection with that can support this project? I promise you, if you ask and you build and you work on this collaboration approach to asking, they will find people. Majority of the people on this panel, yeah, sure, I reached out to them. But a lot of what's going to support our next relationship, our next conversation, is me simply holding on to what connects us. And I think people forget this part too. Focus on quality over quantity. I have a very small group of people that I network with, and I'm building, sure, but I'm way more interested in investing in relationships that have depth and loyalty than just having and knowing and having a million followers or having 19,000 people in my phone as a contact. I'm not interested in unauthentic relationships, and I'm not interested in people who aren't necessarily loyal. So when it comes to connecting and actually moving from just a number in your phone or just somebody you follow, just be supportive, be consistent, and continuously seek. Remember that networking becomes less transactional when you get back to organizing and supporting each other like a true community. I don't know where we forgot that. where we think that we can't make our ask because we're either scared or we don't want people to feel used. I'm all about you can use me, but you're not allowed to misuse me. So if I never hear from you and you're asking for A, B, C, I'm going to be less inclined to support you. I'm going to respectfully decline. But if you're present and I see what you're doing, I see what you're going after, I'm telling you, that is what's going to be the thing and the multitude that connects you to continue this collaboration. And the part that makes it lasting, I'm telling you, is that consistency and building that true sense of community. And am I a person that's going to say that it's easy? Absolutely not. I'm an introvert, so it's really tough for me. But also, I really don't like asking for help, not because I don't like people, but because, I don't want the pressure of feeling like I'm a burden or I'm gonna have to owe them back because they looked out for me. Like, break up with that ideology and remember that you also hold value. And at some point, whether it's a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 days from now, you're going to have something within you that you can offer them when you are making your ask. So it's been 6 years. 6 years later, what have I actually learned as a founder, a coach, and a community builder? Number one, make it exist, then make sense of it later. I can't tell you how many projects I've started and I went, oh my God, I had to make sense of it completely for it to exist. Mm-mm. POV, I kind of had the vision for it. I shared it with my team. After that, I figured it out along the way. Master classes weren't added until the second or third, I think it's second, I don't even remember, second or third webinar. It made sense later. I figured out small things as I was approaching. I was still within my vision, but I figured out like the beautiful, more expansive things later, and I tried to make sure that it didn't hold me back. Number two, follow the resistance. I'm gonna be honest and vulnerable for a second. It took me a week to create this webinar, which is so strange. I do this for a living. I teach, I support, I coach all day, every day. But yet, a part of me didn't feel qualified to teach you guys exactly the things that I've actually learned on this journey. But it's because in the middle of that resistance, something was telling me I was underqualified. The only thing that reminds you or that you can lean on when you do feel the imposter syndrome rising in your spirit, go back to evidence. I did that podcast. I teach for a living. I've taught workshops. I've been on stages. I've done all of those things. Why is that not enough to qualify to teach a master class? And once I really internalized that, a part of me went, and we're creating it, right? But it's because I let myself feel a little bit of the resistance and I didn't shy away from it and stop because then this would have never even existed. So when you feel that push or you're like, "Ugh, I don't know about this," follow it, get curious. Start to ask yourself some deeper questions. Why is this there? What's coming up for me? And it sounds a little bit like wellness and holistic, and maybe it is. But I think it's important that you lead with that. Next, you're not supposed to know what you're doing. No one tells you that. I thought since I went to college, I thought after 2 years of experience, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever amount of years, I thought that I would have all the answers. I do not. I actually feel more like a beginner more than anything. And I'm so happy that I've given myself permission to not know what I'm supposed to doing all the time. That's exactly what experience is for. And I really hope that you guys begin to give yourself the same permission to not know it all, to ask questions, and to do it anyways. So you're not supposed to know what you're doing. Welcome to the club. Okay. Lastly, challenge your mindset. I'm an overthinker, president of the club, might I add. And I could either talk myself into the greatest things or hold myself from everything I care about. And I realize at this age and this stage in my career, in my life, I am not willing to be the person that stands in my own way. And going back to internalizing and really tapping into yourself and asking questions, begin to ask yourself when you have certain fears that arise because you're human, get more curious about where this is coming from. Because if it's popping up, a part of you realizes your value, but also you are nervous. Those things can coexist. I'm nervous, but I'm still doing it. That can also be your story. So, no matter what your ask is, no matter what you are looking to achieve, both personally as well as professionally, just please don't forget to lead with value. You have something in you that's wildly important. And it doesn't have to be this big thing. Sometimes it's, hey, I know this person, or I follow this Instagram account. That's where I started. Number two, don't be afraid to make the first step. Like actually try. Trust yourself to make the first move. That took me years, and that's okay. It's okay. I'm at a stage in my life where it's actually okay. And then number three, just like remember that like you ultimately hold way more power than you could ever imagine. And I think it's incredibly important if you guys just don't forget that along the way, no matter what you're going through and no matter what you're experiencing, it's okay to want more at any point and to reevaluate what more looks like for you. But you have to be audacious enough to ask. I know it's like a popping popular word today, but like it's so incredibly important that you are very much so audacious and realize that you are not allowed to tell yourself no. You're not. So stop today, okay? Go after everything you want in this life because it could work out for you. I'm a big believer there's no way that everyone else can have the dreams and aspirations that we hold, but yet we are forgotten and it can't happen for us. I refuse to believe that, and I hope that you break it with that ideology too. So, thank you guys so much for joining me for my masterclass. I appreciate you so much, and I'm so excited to continue to support you. So, please, please do yourself a favor and go out there and make your ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Imani, for that master class. We're going to go into the rapid fire question portion. I am Talia Brown. I am the production assistant for We Are Made. So starting off strong, the first question asks, what's the single biggest mistake people make when asking for something they really want?
Um, they don't really ask what they really want. What I noticed that people are doing is they're asking for like the step lower than whatever that idea is because they are scared, and they end up settling. The disappointment sets in so much. They already count themselves out going back to that, and they always ask for less. So when it comes to that, I think it's wildly important that you say the scary thing and you ask anyways. Because the worst thing that someone can say is no.
All right. And then so the other question we have is, how do you ask for help without feeling like a burden?
So I struggle with this, even today, even though with like how much I help and I ask and all the things. I think it's okay to receive the same level of support and grace that you provide other people. I think the most caring and the most considerate people forget about themselves. I know that I do. I think it's incredibly important that we get back to what the aspect of community actually meant. It wasn't always about just receiving, it was also about giving. Like before in our culture, it was the way that we survived. We didn't go, oh, you're over there, you're over there. No, we figured out different ways in which we could always find our way back to each other and build on that. And I think the only way you can turn this into not feeling like a burden is if you allow yourself to practice asking for what you want the first time. Make it as uncomfortable for you as possible and just ask for it. It's a practice. I'm just now becoming more comfortable with it. And also depending on what it is for me with when it came to any of the products with We Are Made, it wasn't about me. That made it easier. So Imani is nervous about asking for help. But if it means that it jeopardizes future projects and future collaborations, I wasn't willing to let that be sacrificed. So ask anyways.
Okay, thank you, because I struggle with that myself. I'm not gonna lie. All right, and then the last question that we have is, how do you keep your confidence after a really painful rejection?
Confidence comes from everything you do outside your resume. I think that people assume just because you've been a part of this club, you've gotten this degree, you've met all these different people. Yeah, but that's just there. But you without asking, you without putting in the work, you shying away because you have a fear of being rejected, it still exists. you have to do the work that actually moves you through that experience. And when it comes to rejection, I always tell myself this could be like a cop out to make myself feel better. They're not rejecting me or my project. If they don't know me well enough, if they don't have my number, if they don't know my family, if we're not like deeply connected, I don't put the pressure on myself to create this experience like woes me. I'm t like once they meet me, I have this thing where I'm like they're gonna love me. And that just could be, delusion. But I'm okay with being delusional. And when it comes to rejection, check your receipts. You've done plenty before. And like I mentioned in the class, like don't disqualify yourself. You don't understand the value that you have. Um, and it's most important that you just lead with what you already have. When you begin to fake it, and I've been there before, I used to fake it. But when you begin to fake it, you start to feel like you're losing your confidence. And that's mostly because you aren't being brave enough to be yourself. So rejection is normal, sure. I could give you that advice. Or I can also say empower yourself to ask again, do it again, and continue to try again.
Thank
Yes.
you so much. That was all the questions that we had. Thank you for your master class.
Thank you, Talia. You did great.